Remain calm, right? Remain calm.
The Dan Yorke State of Mind program is brought to you in part by Lookout Rhode Island and Takeo Comfort Solutions.
This is Thursday, right? Yeah, it's Thursday. This has been, remain calm. Nice to have you in. The taping of the show is a 1:30 in the afternoon exercise most days, and you'll just have to forgive me at the start because I am guessing, based on the way the news cycle is moving, there's no possible way I can catch up with the latest news on the coronavirus at all, but we'll do our best. It's always a pleasure to have you aboard, and I hope you take some solace in knowing that we're, still doing our thing here, and that even though it seems like half the world is canceling and now reacting like we do, right? Boom! This is how we do it in America. Whoa! Right? The pendulum just goes like that. And then it's hard to kind of catch up to it. And hopefully the recovery will be like, boom, okay, we're all good. And the market goes flying and people are spending money and the economy is zooming. And we've got a vaccine, but all that stuff is probably wishful thinking, at least the vaccine part, for a good year and a half. So this is going to be a little bit of a thing over the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, right? We have a conversation scheduled for the last week on the update on the truck toll litigation here in Rhode Island, which is not an unimportant conversation. It's been part of our dialogue and commentary here for a long time now, a couple of years. And we will talk to the top dog in the trucking industry around here to get his take not only on what's going on with that litigation, but the economy. And the truckers are an important part of the economy. So we'll fit that in and make it kind of make some sense. In the meantime, here's what the network had, and again, caveat, here's what the network had midday today on all that went on last night.
The virus will not have a chance against us.
In an attempt to stem the spread of coronavirus and the nation's fears, President Trump announced a 30-day travel ban on non-Americans coming from Europe, the UK and Ireland not included.
The new rules will go into effect Friday at midnight. These restrictions will be adjusted subject to conditions on the ground.
The administration is also working on economic measures to help individuals and businesses impacted. Democrats immediately pushed back, criticizing the president for not addressing the shortage of test kits.
The failure of the administration to anticipate problems with testing has put us weeks and weeks behind.
But Vice President Pence told CBS this morning that private companies will soon make test kits widely available.
In the days ahead, we're going to continue to see the availability of tests at your local doctor, ultimately at your local pharmacy, continue to expand.
The president's address was made in part to calm the markets, but it did not help. The Dow suspended trading shortly after the markets opened in an attempt to stop the sell-off.
Public tours at the White House are suspended, and Congress is restricting public access to the Capitol. Just 2 examples of the social distancing taking place across the country.
More than 100 universities have suspended in-person classes, opting for online teaching only. Princess Cruise Line says it's halting all cruises for the next 2 months. And a travel scare in Palm Beach, Florida, after a passenger on a JetBlue flight reportedly flew after testing positive.
Tonight's game has been postponed.
The NBA took a major step, suspending its season after a player from the Utah Jazz tested positive for the virus. And even Hollywood feeling the effects. Actor Tom Hanks announced he and his wife Rita Wilson tested positive after attending a function in Australia.
All right, that kind of covers a lot of it. Of course, the president, with the strategy of stopping flights from Europe, doesn't address the core issues of the admittance that we've got a real serious issue here. I want to hear about tests. I want to hear about what is the emergency funding mechanisms, private industry comeback here. I'm reading it's 5-6 weeks away before we're kind of up the where we need to be in terms of just everybody getting a test when they need one, because testing is important so you know who has what, when, where, rather than walking around wondering if the next person that you're hanging out with has this transmittable virus. There also is some new stuff today that indicates that, and again, it's preliminary laboratory information, that this illness survives for a few hours airborne. I'm guessing, I don't know, so don't count on me, but I'm guessing that's airborne within the proximity of what your cough might have been, right? Versus a measles, tuberculosis type of situation. So that 6-foot space is not just necessarily important for a cough and, you know, catching it, whatever. I mean, if it lingers, you probably don't want to be anybody's 6-foot space. So I think we have to be extra diligent. There's no doubt about that. You know, read the NBA last night. Here's what Mark Cuban had to say. He owns the Dallas Mavericks.
Something out of a movie, and you just don't expect it to happen in real life, but that's the randomness of the world we live in. And so it's stunning, but we are where we are, and we have to be smart in how we respond.
The other thing the president missed yesterday, I don't even know how this happens. I mean, I literally don't know how this happens, how he can do an Oval Office address, suggest that even cargo is being suspended, you know, air flight cargo being suspended from Europe, and only to have the White House staff correct that just minutes after a presidential address. Of course, the markets continue to fall today. Not a good thing. I don't know where the bottom is on that. You'll have to check your local broker and get a feel for that. But at this point, you just kind of throw your hands up and wait for better news in terms of testing and everything else, and you think that the markets will start to return. In terms of the local sports scene, just as we were about to start today, I actually thought I had a day off this afternoon from the radio because WPRO is the voice of Providence College. The Big East Conference, where PC plays, is at this time finishing up its first game, which is going to be the last game, because they decided, like everybody else who also decided conference-wise last minute to cancel the 2:30 game that PC was scheduled to play. That's how fast and furious the days have been here in the last couple, including the last 24 hours. And I'm sure that there's a whole bunch of obsolete information we've already delivered to you by the time you see this show at 7:30 at midnight. But, you know, we do the best we can. We are as nimble as we can be on this show. What are you going to do? All right, we're going to pause. We're going to come back. We'll remind you of what Governor Raimondo had to say yesterday, and then we'll bring on our guest to talk about the trucking industry impact and the reason he's here, to talk about the truck toll litigation, which is taking a different turn. Stay with us. Welcome back. So again, late yesterday, Governor Raimondo had a press conference with the Department of Health director, and it went this way.
Aggressive, swift action so that we can contain the virus.
Governor Gina Raimondo says that her #1 goal with coronavirus is containment. To do that, she asked for the public's help during a news conference Wednesday.
To not attend or organize organized events of 250 people or more for the next 2 weeks.
She defined events as organized occasions where people will be in close proximity for an extended period of time. The governor's suggestion was supported by the Rhode Island Department of Health.
Everyone who cooperates with this now also becomes our unsung heroes.
The list of those cooperating started immediately. The Providence Warwick Convention and Visitors Bureau, Dunkin' Donut Center, and Rhode Island Convention Center all announcing event cancellations for the next 14 days. The governor is also asking that the most vulnerable to the virus, who are 60 and older or with underlying health conditions, not attend any events for 2 weeks.
We want to make sure it's clear that this is to protect older adults. We're doing this because we love you and we want to keep you safe as our seniors in our community.
To avoid spreading the virus, the governor and Dr. Alexander Scott recommends keeping a distance of 6 feet away from others, as well as continue to wash your hands with soap and water Use hand sanitizer, cough into your elbow, and avoid touching your eyes and mouth.
If we do this now, and everybody follows these instructions for this short period of time, we'll all be better off in the long run.
Yeah, and so there's still been some debate as to cancellations. This Newport Parade thing was quite the little deal. They decided they were going to go ahead, and then they decided they're not going to go ahead. Of course, the St. Patty's Day Parade in Boston was postponed prior to that. The Boston Marathon right now is subject to delay, it seems. What is fascinating with all these basketball discontinuations that are happening literally at the jump ball, which is nuts, the Rhode Island Interscholastic League has decided to continue with the high school playoffs in both hockey and basketball, and the gyms will be limited to that governor guideline of 250 people. There'll be specific instructions for the individual schools as to who can actually attend the games. Ironically, I produce, through my own organization, the high school basketball championships on the radio. We're scheduled to pick up the quarterfinals, which we're going to run on Sunday from CCRI, now have been moved to Rhode Island College on Saturday, beginning at 11 a.m., 4 games back to back to back to back. What's ironic about that, I'm told, is that what's going to be interesting about that, I'm told, is not only will it be fanless to a major degree, which will be a strange way to call a game, but teams are not going to be allowed in until teams have left. So game one's game has to end, everyone has to leave, then the two new teams can come in the building. Normally the teams are coming in, they're getting ready, they're going to warm up as soon as the first game ends. You know, it's a very bustling atmosphere. That won't happen, I'm told. So it could be an extended day for Rhode Island College on Saturday. And that is what we are planning on right now, to broadcast those games on AM 790 WPRV. Check in with us, because like I said, this is a quick-moving situation. So I wanted to talk about the litigation that is moving in another direction here with the Truckers Association, you know, all about the truck tolls. But before we get to that, let me just switch over to Chris Maxwell, who runs the local trucking association. What are you thinking about in terms of economy and truckers and what's going on with this whole situation?
Well, first, I think the state's doing a great job. I do. I think the governor, Dr. Scott, they're doing the necessary thing. So hats off to them. I think the trucking industry will, first of all, be a good barometer. And it's not in a recession, but it was slowing down a little bit before this all happened. It'll be our best barometer nationally as to where this country is going to go. But right now we're seeing a run on staples, water, non-perishables. So there's kind of a spike right now in trucking. That's going to soften because, you know, that'll eventually run out. We're hearing that the ports are depleting the stockpiles there of things because of
Sure.
international supply chain. So it's going to be very interesting. Again, I think the trucking was slowing down anyway. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out altogether.
You're not an economist, but
No.
are you told that your trends are leading indicators of economy when
They always
trucking
are.
slows
Yes.
down?
Yeah, they're typically good indicators of
Slowing
where the
down
economy's going.
to a slower growth potential, or slowing down to a recessionary potential?
Slower growth, which is an indicator perhaps of a recession coming. Less on the load boards. You know, trucking companies that have been, the industry's been humming along for a number of years now, and when you go from that to, you know, trucks, you know, maximum capacity, driver shortage, to trucks parked, and less on the load boards to pick from, and that's pre-corona. So it'll be a good indicator as to what's happening. Our industry will be on the forefront of whatever happens.
Yeah. Okay.
Good, bad, and different.
Sure. All right, when we come back, there is an update on what's happening with the truck toll litigation. We'll tell you all about it when we return. Stay with us. Okay, so it's they're going up in various different places. I don't know if that's video or a picture or a combination of both, but that's at least that's a 95 overpass toll structure. We've had 2 operating now, 3 actually. The one top of 146 is that operating yet?
We have 6 operating.
6.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
We have I'm sorry. We have 8 operating, if I'm not mistaken. We have the original 2.
Right.
Okay. We have 117 in Warwick. Okay. We have the way up on 295. We have 610. So I think we have 6 operating. We have 2 waiting to go, which is
Oxford 295 is on 146.
Right. There's 146 in 16, and then there's another one up near 118. So there are 6 actively collecting tolls. There are 2 fully built awaiting activation. That's Oxford Street and Providence. And the other one is
sorry, I lost track.
Is on the Attleboro line in Pawtucket. 1 is halfway built. So we have a almost full complement of gantries. We're at 9, close to 9, 6 operating, 3 close to being activated, and 12
is going to be 12.
12.
13, right?
12.
12.
So,
okay.
So they've done a nice job of buying themselves some time over the last year and a half. They've collected roughly well over $10 million in tolls, perhaps illegally. They have brought this thing to fruition, whereas if this thing had gone right to federal court, there probably would have been some injunctive action, which would have probably poured water on any rollout of these tolls. That never was able to happen because the court, this case, since it was filed in July of 18, never had jurisdiction until last week.
Right. Truckers Association filed in federal court.
Federal court, July of 18.
That was problematic in that
the state appealed that, said it belonged in state court because tolls are taxes.
Even though when they described it politically, they said it was fees, not taxes.
Correct, correct. The decision from Judge Smith came back last year in March, said tolls are taxes. Federal Judge Smith, tolls are taxes. We appealed to the First Circuit. First Circuit came back, said no, tolls are not taxes, tolls are user fees. Rhode Island appeals that decision. They come back, December I think it was, said no, tolls are user fees, it belongs to federal court. They appealed that decision. They petitioned that decision of 3 of 6 judges unanimously said tolls are not taxes, they're user fees. They appealed and petitioned the court for a full 6-panel judge review or even more, and they came back March 2nd, a week ago Monday, said no. Tolls are taxes. We fully expected they had 7 days, which lapsed.
Tolls are not taxes.
Tolls are not taxes. This case squarely now belongs in federal court.
So this whole time, everybody, understand this, the whole time you've been fighting for whether your arguments are okay to be heard.
Not the merits of the case.
Right.
Not whether it's constitutional, whether it's right, simply where's the jurisdiction. So as of last Monday, jurisdiction was established. They had a week, which expired Tuesday night, to perhaps go another level to the Supreme Court. They clearly waved the flag, said, we respect the decision. We're going to federal court on the merits of the case.
And the merits of the case, the argument is discrimination against the trucking industry.
On many fronts.
Yeah, name them.
Well, you cannot discriminate against, if you're going to toll, you need to toll all classes. It's called approximation of use. If you're got a mile of road and you're going to toll a truck $10, you got to toll a car something. That's probably the most glaring of those. They've also applied caps, which are highly illegal. You cannot apply protective caps that allow a local truck to be tolled only $40 a day when it may have run 200 miles around the state all day, accruing $200 worth of tolls, but only being charged $40, while an interstate truck might travel 92 miles and be charged the same amount. So there's a protective cap that takes care of the local folks. So those are the 2 main glaring issues. I fully suspect now that the jurisdiction has been established that we can expect from the ATA and its co-plaintiffs some sort of preemptive strike to stop this thing until it's decided in the courts, which would mean
to ask for an injunction.
Injunction to stop. I would say that's imminent.
And the injunction request now has some footing because the court has accepted A, that it's the right place to argue, and B, that you're a legitimate entity to file the lawsuit.
You can't just file. You can't file just you know, you can't just file an injunction for the sake of it. You have to have a pretty good chance that your case is going to prevail in the federal court in order for that injunction to be granted. Nothing is guaranteed, but if we do file, and again I think that's pretty imminent, it won't happen right away, but when it does, there are conditions you meet which the federal courts, our federal district court, will look at, and if they see merit, certainly the fact that for a year and a half while we've been playing this jurisdictional game, we have perhaps been damaged for a year and a half to the tune of over $10 million. Hopefully they'll take that into consideration in granting an injunction if we so choose to go that route.
I wonder, I mean, I think you've laid it all out perfectly, Chris. I just wonder what the balance a judge would look at between damage and remedy. Injunctions are usually put in place when something is imminent threat.
Well, we're being damaged illegally.
Your
the merits of our argument,
your continuous tolling, you say, is damage.
If the merits of our argument, and again, it's anybody's guess how the court's going to decide, but we got a pretty damn good argument. And if that argument has been allowed, is now entered, now that we have jurisdiction, and we are being told perhaps illegally, and the merits of our case are credible, then it would stand to reason that the judge would say, halt these until we can find out if they're legal. That would stand to reason.
Yeah.
And at that point, if we get an injunction, we have a full complement of 9 gantries, or however many they can put up between now and the time these things stop. We either scrap the plan or we go to plan B, and we know what that is.
Yeah, the thing is that I have supported this litigation all along because I think, A, the tolls are a bad idea, and B, you can see the blatant discrimination. How a court will see it is anybody's guess, right? It's a crazy world these days. But the remedy for the state when the infrastructure is up is, I doubt, going to be to take the infrastructure down. And there'll be just a simple little bill adjusting the idea that it's only tolls for trucks. It's tolls for everybody because, heck, we got the infrastructure up anyway. And,
maybe Connecticut will buy our gantries from us. I don't know.
Wouldn't that be sweet? So I continue to wish you good luck.
Thank you. It pales in comparison, obviously, this issue, but it's important long term for the health of our state.
No, it's part of what would be called the normal course of news events in the news cycle. Hopefully, the coronavirus focus is subsided enough sooner or later that we can get back to watching the store, because this falls into the category of issues that you must continue to keep watching the store.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Good work.
Thanks for having me, Dan.
Final word when we come back. Stay with us. We were talking about truck tolls. Got a notification that the NHL suspending play after tonight. So it just continues. I think we all hope that we get enough testing and enough knowledge about where this virus is to be able to be a little bit more conscious about where the end of this might be. But until and unless we get that, we're a little bit flying blind. As my mother used to say, she didn't write the phrase, but she would repeat it often. God bless her. This too will pass. We'll talk to you tomorrow with a specialist on coronavirus. See ya.